All right, so our next problem is nominal versus real GDP. So first off, let's remember what the differences are. Nominal GDP is production, the value of those final goods and services produced within the domestic economy, valued in current year prices. So if we were to say 2015 nominal GDP, that's 2015's production in 2015 prices. If we were to say, I'm looking at 2014 nominal GDP, that's 2014's production in 2014's prices. Here's another example. Let's say today after class you went to the grocery store. You checked out, you got your bill, total bill, and let's say everything in your shopping cart. Imagine your shopping cart is an economy, so everything in our shopping cart represents GDP, what was produced today. So when you check out, you get your total bill, let's say it's $100. So again, that is the value of everything in your cart in today's prices. Nominal GDP, the nominal value of those goods. Now let's say you were trying to compare your bill today to your bill last week or last month. So you look at your bill from last week or last month and you notice your bill from last week or last month was only $90. So what can we conclude? Your bill today was $100. Your bill last time at the store was $90. So what can we conclude from that? Can we conclude for sure our bill today is higher because we bought more stuff? Well, maybe we did, but the problem is we don't know for sure. Why is that? What else could have changed between today and last week? That's right, prices, right? So today's bill is everything you bought today in today's prices. Last time's bill, last week, last month, was everything you bought last time, but in last week's prices. So when we're looking at GDP and we want to compare across time, those are nominal values. Whatever you have in your cart, in that current time's prices. The problem is we can't compare nominal numbers, nominal GDP, or as we'll find out in Chapter 7, nominal prices, nominal wages, nominal figures we cannot compare over time because part of the change potentially could be to a change in price. So what we need to do is, in this chapter, figure out a way to factor out any price level change. And that's what we call real GDP. Real GDP is the value of all of our production that took place in the current period. So if we were looking at, for example, real GDP in 2015, what that means is the same 2015 production revalued, though, in some base or reference year prices. Now for the U.S. economy, GDP 2009 is the official base year for U.S. GDP. Now in our example here, that's why I give you this information. In our little example here, you are told the base or reference year is 2005. So that's what we're going to use when we want to calculate real GDP, those base year prices. So again, the difference. Nominal GDP for 2015 would be 2015's production stated in 2015 prices. Real GDP is 2015's production again, however, revalued using base year. In this case, that's 2005, base year prices. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. How are we going to do that? Well, to get GDP, okay, here is for Springfield. Here's all the things that we produced this year. We produced, let's keep it simple, 3 products. Tobacco plants, of course, classic combination of tobacco and tomato. Boxes of Mr. Sparkle detergent, and Ribwich sandwiches. Okay, so those are the 3 goods that our economy of Springfield is going to be producing. Now, notice that we also have quantities. Okay, so we can't just simply add up the prices that you're given here because we produced millions of each of these 3 items. So we're going to need to do a little multiplication. So for 2015's nominal GDP, we're going to take all of our production that took place in 2015 for each of the three goods, and nominal means current prices, so that's 2015 prices that we're going to use to calculate 2015's nominal GDP. So for the tobacco plants, let's abbreviate that, tobacco, we're going to take the quantity, the 17,560, times the 2015 price, which is $2. And we're going to get a value. That value is, in total, 35,120. And again, these quantities are in millions, so these dollar amounts are going to be in millions. All right, now Mr. Sparkle, let's say Mr. Spark for short. Again, we're going to take the quantity. Actually, there we go. That'll line up a little bit better. 910 times the price of those goods, again in 2015. So we get a value of 9,100 million for Mr. Sparkle. And ribwich sandwiches. All right, so we produced 5,190 of those. The price of each of those in 2015 is $3. So our total is 15,570 million. All right, so what we're going to do is then add those three totals, okay, and get a total for 2015. This is going to be our nominal GDP for 2015, $59,790 million. There we go. So there's our answer to part one. Nominal GDP in 2015, let's highlight that, is $59,790 million. Okay? Again, that is the value of actual production that took place in 2015 in 2015 prices. All right, now real GDP. We're going to have to do the same thing, multiply quantity times price. But again, we're restating this 2015 production using 2005 prices. That's going to give us, that's again the base year. That's why we're using 2005. This is our base year. You can't just pick any random year. Pick whatever the base or reference year is. And that's why I've given you this information. So let's do the same thing. And this time we are going to use 2005 prices. So the 17,560 million now times $1. That was the price in 2005. Mr. Sparkle. Okay, we've got the 910 boxes. They are $8 each back in. Oops, and I forgot to get a total here. Sorry about that. Let's go back up. Get our total. Okay, so that total is 17,560. All right, whoops, we got too many dollar signs. All right, next is, we'll line those up. All right, next is Mr. Sparkle. We get a total for that, and that is 7,280 million. Sorry, these again are all in millions. All right, and last, ribwich sandwiches. Ribwich. All right, the 5,190 that we produced in 2015, but again times the base year prices, which base year is $2. All right, we get a total for that. That is $10,380 million. All right, so we're going to get a total there. Add those three numbers up. Oops, let's get that. All right, and get our total. Forgot to take the underline sign off. There we go. All right, total. Let's see what our total is. Again, we'll highlight that. Actually, let's do that. This one in red. All right, So real GDP, this is our real GDP. The 2015 production restated in 2005. Oops, again, one too many dollar signs. 2005 prices. So 35,220 million. There's our answer for part 2. That is our real GDP. All right. So again, that is our production, 2015's production, revalued using the base year prices. Now, there is this index, price index. We're going to talk more about price indices in Chapter 7 when we talk about inflation. But for right now, we're going to talk about the GDP price index. Basically, all these indices is the relationship of nominal value, current value, to real value. And then we're going to multiply by 100. Okay? So the GDP price index, to get that, the formula is nominal GDP, so the value of GDP in current prices, divided by real GDP. And let's put some parentheses around that. So we're going to divide those two numbers first. And then when we divide that, get our answer, we're going to multiply that times 100. All right. So that's what we're trying to find. Is our deflator or price index. Okay, so just plug in our numbers. We're going to take the 59,790, divide by 35,220 million. Okay, and again, put the parentheses around that. So we do the division first. Okay, and you get something like 1.69761. Okay, then we're going to multiply that by 100. So we get a final answer of 169.761. Usually these indices are written out to 3 decimal places. And this is not dollars, this is not a percent, it's a price index, it's just a value. So we would write it just like that, 169.761. Okay, that is the value of our deflator. Nominal value, divide by real value, times 100. Now, by itself, what does this price index tell us? Doesn't really tell us very much all by itself. Again, it kind of gives us the overall price level of the economy, but doesn't tell us, is that going up, is it going down, how fast or how slow? What we would want to do is, if we had the price index, say, from last year, from 2014, or from last month, whatever the last period was, if we wanted to gauge how fast or how slow price level is rising, which we are going to learn in Chapter 7, that's inflation, we would compare this value to whatever the previous period value was, get the percent change between those numbers, and that is going to give us our inflation rate. Again, we'll come back to that in Chapter 7. Okay? For right now, just focus on what do these things mean. What's nominal GDP represent? What does real GDP represent? Okay? And again, if you are comparing numbers across time, so if we wanted to look at US GDP over time, is it growing? Is it contracting? How fast or how slow? Again, you have to factor out price level, so we have to use real GDP to compare these values over time. And that's why real GDP is very important. And again, we'll be talking about growth in Chapter 9. We're going to look at the real GDP growth rate. How are these real GDP numbers changing over time? All right. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope you've enjoyed the video and seen how to do this problem. Next up, Part D, again, nominal versus real GDP. Thank you. We'll see you in a bit.